He walks past you like you're not there. You speak, he shrugs. You guide, he turns away. And somewhere in the silence, you feel it. The distance, the disrespect, the disbelief that the one who once ran into your arms now won't look you in the eye. But listen, the tree still remembers the root. Even when it grows wild, even when the branches bend toward other light, even when it looks like it's outgrown you, it still drinks from the ground you gave it. The Stoics didn't parent with noise. They didn't beg for respect, they became it. Through silence, through posture, through presence that didn't chase, but didn't leave either. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to control to be felt. You just need to stand, long enough for them to feel the weight of what holds still when everything else moves. This is how the root calls the tree back. Not with sound, but with strength. Every time you correct them with words, you lower your own authority. Not because you're wrong, but because you're talking too much. The Stoics understood, truth doesn't beg. It doesn't explain itself twice. It stands. And in parenting, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Let the silence carry the weight. Let your pause echo louder than punishment. When you over-explain, you negotiate your value. When you overreact, you hand them the frame. But when you stay still, when you let the consequence speak, when you lock eyes without flinching, that's when they feel it. The disappointment, the line they crossed, the reflection they weren't ready to see. You don't need to shout. You need to become the kind of silence they can't look away from. Because silence, when it comes from strength, makes them correct themselves. And that's real power. You can't make them listen. You can't make them care. You can't force respect out of resistance. But you can control the one thing they'll remember forever: how you showed up when they didn't. The Stoics didn't chase control. They chased clarity. Because no matter how wild the storm, if your anchor holds, the ship doesn't drift. And you're the anchor, not the storm, not the chaos in their voice, not the rebellion in their eyes. You are the stillness they'll measure themselves against later. So when they ignore you, don't react, don't explode, don't mirror their fire with your own. Adjust your posture, your tone, your frame. Because in the end, what teaches them isn't what you say, it's what you consistently are when things fall apart. Control yourself. Not to control them, but to show them what real control looks like. And one day, they'll remember how you stood while they were still learning how. They don't follow your words, they follow your walls. The boundaries you hold, the standard you live. The line you don't cross, even when it's hard. The Stoics didn't demand authority, they became it. Through rhythm, through repetition, through stillness that didn't crack under pressure. You think parenting is about raising your voice? It's not. It's about raising your standard and never lowering it just to feel obeyed. Because kids don't test your patience. They test your position. And if you shift with every storm, you're not leading, you're negotiating. They don't need perfect, they need predictable. They need to feel that the ground beneath you doesn't shake even when theirs does. So stop explaining, stop proving. Just hold. Hold the bedtime, hold the tone, hold the pause instead of the outburst. Because authority that lasts isn't loud. It's quiet, sharp, and unmoving. You want respect, but do you reflect it? You want them to listen, but do you ever let them speak? You want them to take responsibility, but do you own your tone when it cracks? The Stoics didn't ask others to follow virtues they didn't carry first. They became the standard before asking for it. So when your child rolls their eyes, when they close the door, when they throw words like knives, don't ask, why are they like this? Ask, what are they seeing? Are you living what you preach? Are you reacting how you'd want them to react? Are you walking the way you'd want them to walk when they're on their own? Because you don't raise them with rules, you raise them with examples. And if you want them to speak gently, speak gently. If you want them to own their mistakes, own yours. If you want to earn respect, live in a way that doesn't have to ask for it. Because no one follows a voice that contradicts its own echo. Before you open your mouth, they've already read you. Your eyes, your breath, the way you walk into the room. Kids don't hear your words first. They feel your energy. The Stoics taught presence not with speeches, but with posture. And your posture is a lesson on its own. When you're tired, they feel it. When you're fake, they know it. When you're disappointed, you don't have to say a word. So stop thinking parenting is about what you say. It's about what you are when you say nothing. How do you stand when they lie? How do you look at them when they break the rule? How do you enter the room after they shut you out? Because your body, your silence, your presence teaches more than any lecture ever will. And one honest look from a grounded parent can do more than 1,000 angry sentences. Lead with stillness, correct with energy, and save your words for when they actually need them. The rest, they've already felt. Not all silence is defiance. Sometimes it's protection, sometimes it's pain. The Stoics didn't fill every silence. They sat in it. Let it speak, let it reveal what words couldn't. And in parenting, silence is a signal. When your child ignores you, goes quiet, pulls away, don't rush to fix, don't rush to scold, don't rush at all. Just be there, not loud, not demanding, just there. Because silence is often their last safe place. They don't want advice. They don't want pressure. They want to know you can sit with them in the dark without asking for the light too soon. And when you do that, they begin to open. Not always with words, sometimes with a glance, a softer breath, a door left cracked open. So stop trying to fill the gap, become still inside it, because when they're ready, they'll speak. And if you were patient enough to wait, they'll trust you with what matters most, not what's said, but what's been held inside. If they don't feel understood, they won't hear you. Not the lesson, not the advice, not even the love underneath it. The Stoics didn't just speak with logic, they led with presence, with awareness of the storm inside the other person. And when your child acts out, it's not always rebellion. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's confusion, sometimes it's a test. Can you still see me when I'm at my worst? You don't win that moment by correcting faster. You win it by pausing. Look deeper. Don't ask what they did. Ask what they felt that made them do it. Where's the crack? Where's the unmet need? Where's the bruise you haven't asked about? Because when you touch the wound, gently, without judgment, they soften. And in that softness you can guide, not from height, from closeness. Empathy doesn't mean approval. It means access. And once you earn that access, your words carry weight. Until then, you're just noise. And they've already learned how to tune that out. You don't need to push, you need to hold. Firm, steady, unmoving. The Stoics didn't crack under resistance. They applied pressure without force, without noise, without rush. And parenting works the same. When they pull away, you don't chase. When they test the line, you don't move it. You just hold. Hold your expectations. Hold your tone. Hold your rhythm, even when they don't match it. Because growth doesn't happen under intensity. It happens under consistency. Think of water on rock. It doesn't shout, it doesn't break. It just returns again and again and again until the stone shapes itself. That's what you are, a slow, unshakable presence. They may run, they may rebel, they may shut down, but every time they circle back, you're still there. Not softer, not harsher, just there. And one day, they'll realize you never stopped showing up. You just stopped trying to control how fast they'd notice. When they push, don't push back. Just stand. Because the moment you lose your frame, you lose your power. The Stoics never chased control. They held position, quiet, centered, immovable. And when your child tests you, not with words, but with silence, with absence, with defiance, that's not the time to collapse. That's the time to return to the center, to the role, to the presence, to the posture that says, I'm not here to win, I'm here to remain. Because parenting isn't about reaction, it's about reference. You are the frame, And when you hold, they remember. Even when they run, even when they reject, even when they say nothing for weeks, they know where you are. Still, calm, watching, waiting, ready. And one day, when their own frame cracks, they'll look for the one that never did. That's not authority. That's legacy. You can't force respect. You can't demand it. You can't beg for it with rules, volume, or titles. The Stoics never asked to be followed. They just became the kind of presence people didn't want to ignore. And you, as a parent, as a guide, as a mirror, you don't have to explain your worth. You just have to live it. With calm, with clarity, with the kind of quiet that makes others adjust without being told to. Respect doesn't arrive because you raised your voice. It arrives because you lowered your ego, because you stayed when it would have been easier to walk. Because you watched when it hurt to stay still. Because you waited without needing to be thanked. And one day, they'll see it. Not in the lessons, not in the punishments, but in the stillness you held when everything in them was trying to escape it. They'll come back, and they won't say sorry. They'll say, I see it now, I get it now, I'm here. And you'll nod. Because the tree has finally remembered the root.